All right, everyone, welcome back in here to Inbound Sports Podcast. I'm Brooks Talley, cousin best friend Devin Dowdy here. Obviously, we've got more guests than usual. This voice probably sounds familiar. We've had him on before. Tyler Berg, good friend Riley Conley, and another good friend Cameron Murai. We thought we'd kind of do like a roundtable discussion, obviously with the roundtable. So, yeah, let's just get right into it here. We'll throw the first question here at Riley because I know we talked about this the other day. But we're starting off with the NFL. Which team is better right now, Chiefs or Rams?
I'm gonna have to say right now, I believe the Chiefs are better. If you look at it, they've lost one game and they redeemed themselves. They went back and they beat the same team. They proved they are better, and I think they are the best team in the NFL. And I don't know, they've won 5 straight. But if you look at the Rams, they've won two games in a row. They're 7-3, but they're 4 of their 7 wins have been against NFC East teams, and we know how bad that conference is, that division. So, also, their last loss to the Dolphins, they Tua threw for 93 yards, and they outdrove the Dolphins 471 to 145, and they still lost the game. Terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go the other way with that. Like, I think the Chiefs' defense is just too much of a cause for concern. I really think if we got a head-to-head matchup between the two, I think the Rams defense would provide more stops than the Chiefs defense. And I think, especially right now, the Rams defense is starting to kind of find a groove. We talked about it earlier in this podcast. So they don't really know who they are right now, but I think they've kind of figured that out. They're a big play action pass team. Jared Goff is finding a really nice groove in that offense. Obviously, Sean McVay is an offensive genius. So I definitely just think that it comes down to the defensive side of the ball in that matchup. I definitely see just the Chiefs having a really hard time stopping all the different things that Sean McVay's offense can do.
Miri?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs on that one. I agree with Riley. They're just playing garbage teams, plain and simple. AFC West, a lot more competition. You got the Chargers, who record doesn't show it, but they're a lot better than they really are. And Raiders aren't bad. They beat them, split the series this year, so.
Yeah, Raiders aren't too bad.
Raiders are underrated.
Yeah, Raiders are pretty underrated. It's a tough go, but I mean, I just think the Rams offense right now is just starting to play good enough to where I won't want to say compete with, but like stay up with the Chiefs offense. Obviously, because we know it's basically just can you outscore the Chiefs?
That's basically
Is what it comes down to when you play them.
I mean, if you look at it though, I mean, the thing that I like about the Rams is, like you said, they do have that offense that can keep up with the Chiefs.
Mhm.
That's basically what's going to come down to, which team can keep up with the Chiefs the best. And the Rams defense is playing well right now. I don't think they're a better team than the Chiefs by any means, but the Chiefs do have some liabilities on the defensive side of football.
Absolutely.
They have nobody getting after the quarterback. Their secondary is mediocre at best. They're all the guys in their secondary are getting older, and none of them have really stepped up and played well. But I think if they played head right now with the teams as healthy as they are right now, I think it could go 50-50, but that's nothing to do with the Rams offense. I think the Chiefs overall are a better team. And the scary part is the Chiefs aren't even the best team in the AFC. Pittsburgh out there, they got to go through that tough defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I
The
don't know.
Jets.
A lot better than 0-10.
I don't think so.
Sure.
Sorry, buddy.
Well, on that 5-0 run, the Chiefs have averaged a little over 420 yards a game total. So it'd be interesting to see that because it's going to come down to Chiefs offense versus Rams defense. I don't think the Rams offense can keep up with Chiefs offense, but I don't know. I think it would be a high scoring game. It's just I'd be curious to see what Patrick Mahomes did against that secondary because they play physical, and I'd be very intrigued by that matchup.
Yeah, it's one that, I mean, definitely could even be Super Bowl matchup. I mean, you never know.
Could be both really good coaches.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the NFL, like, we talked about this again last night, really. You don't know what you're going to get on any given week. Like, you really, like, especially, like, if you're trying to sports bet or something like that, you have no idea what the heck's going to happen.
Nope.
Like, so many random things happen. So, yeah, I just really don't know what I would do for that. But we'll jump into the next one here. Who has the best chance of winning the NFC East out of all That was
whoever
some terrible
wins 6
teams.
games first. First team to 6 wins is gonna win that division. Holy crap, they're
If any of
bad.
them make it to 6 wins.
You're not
Right.
wrong.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
The New York Football Giants.
Dude, honestly though, the Giants have played teams close. They lost to the Bucks by 1 score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bucks are like an iffy team right now. They play really good against. Well, Packers are just bad against physical teams, but
Right.
you know they played good teams. They've beaten them. They've also played good teams and lost to them pretty ugly, like the Saints game.
Yeah.
I don't even know where the Saints are right now, especially with Drew Brees being out.
I like Dallas out of that division, as much as I hate to say it. I think they have the best overall roster right now, with even with injuries. You know, Dak being gone. I think Andy Dalton, as soon as he gets a few more games under his belt, he's going to start playing better. Last week they got Zeke going for the first time all season, and it showed.
Yeah.
You know, I think who they beat last week was the Vikings.
Yeah.
Yep.
They put up like 31 points, and the Vikings are a good team. I mean, their record, they're one of those teams that their record doesn't show how good they are,
Also,
but
the
the
Seahawks
Vikings
they lost.
tough.
Yeah.
They play teams tough. That Viking offense is tough to stop. I mean,
Right.
They put up 28 points and like 400 yards of offense and still lost.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I honestly think it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna come down to whoever wins 6-7 games. It's gonna probably run away with that division. But if the Cowboys can get Zeke going and Andy Dalton just plays well enough, I think
Right.
they could come out of that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we look at it statistically. It's the Eagles right now, just because of that tie.
Yep.
I think to me it kind of runs down between Eagles and Giants, maybe Cowboys. Just especially with like schedule right now, it'll be really interesting to see. The Giants coming up, they got the Bengals, Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, Ravens, and Cowboys. The Eagles got Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys, and Washington. So in all likeliness, we see like the Giants finishing at 5-11, Eagles finishing at like 5-10-1. So that tie could definitely really come into play and just be a really interesting factor that might push them over the edge to get them into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. These are all garbage teams, but I gotta go with the Cowboys, and I hate Dallas. But I mean, they play Washington, the Bengals, Eagles, Ravens, 49ers, and Giants.
Mhm.
So I'm just looking at strength of schedule. I mean, the other teams have to play teams like the Saints, the Steelers, the Browns, other powerhouses like that. I think even the Buccaneers for one of the teams. So
Yeah.
I just look at it like that and go, I can see the Eagles. I can see any 4 of these teams winning the division. I would prefer to have a roster like the Giants or the Eagles, but Andy Dalton's good enough to lead the way. They got Tony Pollard and Zeke back there, so
Right.
I just look at strength of schedule and I'm like, they got a good roster. I think they can squeeze 3 wins out of the next 6 and take that division going into the playoffs.
Yeah, like you guys said, to race to 5 or 6 wins pretty much. So I can see that maybe the Giants and the Eagles, like what Brooks was saying, like, you know, the Giants, like Riley was also saying, it's been close games every time. I think they've only been blown out once, and that was to the 49ers beginning of the year, I'm pretty
Yep.
sure. Everything else has been
Yep.
1 score, 2 score, like not bad. So,
Mhm.
and I can see the Eagles, like they tie at 5-10-1, 5-11, you know, 6-9-1, 6-10. I could see Eagles winning that just because of the tie.
Right, and kind of like what we talked about earlier. It'll also be interesting to see. Like I talked about Giants schedule and Eagles schedule. I mean, the Giants could pick up a win, easily against the Browns, or maybe even like Cardinals or Seahawks. They could be a really interesting thing there where they win one they're not supposed to, or the Eagles even like lose one they're not supposed to against like Washington or something like that.
Don't sleep on Washington though. They've got a good pass rush,
Mhm.
and with
Smith's
Alex
back,
Smith at quarterback, I mean he's different than what he was, but you got to remember he knows how to play the game. He was an MVP candidate before he got hurt.
Yeah.
I mean he was a good player, and I think Washington might come out and win that division.
Right.
Yeah.
Before Kaepernick came in there, I mean, Alex Smith looked like he could have been a franchise quarterback with San
Yeah.
Francisco.
And Kansas City
doubt.
too was.
Kansas City
Yeah.
too, he was
Yeah.
great. I mean, yeah, he's
Really good.
If you were an
quarterback.
owner, which one of these 4 teams would you want?
Definitely the
Right.
Redskins.
I would say the Redskins.
You know,
Well,
look-
I mean
Washington football team.
The football
Yeah, you're right.
team.
It's all right.
settle down there.
I like the Giants. I like the Giants too. I think Daniel Jones shows that he was actually worth the pick. Somewhat. I mean, to an extent. I mean, if you had Saquon right now, it'd be a completely different story.
Yeah.
I don't even know his main weapon as a wide receiver, but
Sterling Shepard.
Shepard.
Sterling
Yeah.
Shepard.
You look at looking back at like the Washington football team though. I mean, if you were to take the defenses for all 4 of those teams out of that conference, Washington by far has the best defense. Like
Mhm.
up front, secondary, and you name it.
Right.
So I mean, if they're gonna slug it out and beat teams 12-10, I mean, they're gonna be the ones to come out of that division. Plus, like you said, you get Alex Smith back, so
Who's
it's
throwing?
very likely that they get a few games under his belt. they got that. Who's that running back?
Gibson.
Oh,
Gibson.
Gibson.
I mean, he's rushed for like 90 yards at least
He
90
has
yards,
played
like
super
the
good.
And
last
then
like.
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I
too.
mean,
Good
so
receiver.
so they could realistically, they're another one of those teams. I mean, they might be the best team out of that division. Like I said, you just never know with Alex Smith. And
Yep.
They're an injury away from.
Right.
Since he's come back, though, I mean, he's gone
Right.
over 400 yards, and I don't think he even threw a touchdown that game.
Right. They're going to start opening up the playbook as he gets comfortable. You got to remember, he hasn't played football in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Right. And it's realistically, he only had, 2-3 games with them before he got hurt.
Yeah, honestly.
So the system is still probably somewhat new.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't had a lot of time in that system to really adjust and just get his feet underneath him, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could be a tough team out of that division, too.
And they'll deal Haskins somewhere and probably get another weapon this offseason too.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah, he needs to go.
he needs to go. He's not
Yeah.
there. There's no
Sorry,
reason
Riles,
for
your boy from Ohio
Yeah.
State just isn't.
Yeah.
Imagine that, another Ohio
Bust.
State quarterback.
Another.
the Buckeyes.
Add him to
baby.
the list, baby.
It'd be pretty interesting though to see because I mean Alex Smith has historically been a transition quarterback. Obviously Patrick Mahomes, Kaepernick, and then they thought was going to be Haskins. But I mean I could definitely see him staying there for a couple, 2 or 3 years. You know, maybe next year they even get like Fields, Ohio State quarterback. You know, or even
Might be different.
NDSU Trey
Trey
Lance.
Lance,
I mean you
yeah.
can see him kind of being another transition guy there at Washington to lead him towards another good team in the future. So that'd be really interesting.
I hope they don't pick a quarterback, though.
I feel like they got a lot of other things they should
Yeah.
probably.
They're like
Address.
Cincinnati. Like Cincinnati, I love the Joe Burrow pick,
Mhm.
but
No line.
what good does he do you on the sideline? I know
Right.
they had to take him. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was the clear consensus number 1 overall pick.
Mhm.
But they had to take him, and I don't disagree with them taking him number 1 overall. I think he was worth it.
Yeah.
But a team like Washington has a good enough quarterback in Alex Smith
Mhm.
that they will be just fine. He might not be the future of the football team,
Right.
but he's good enough to get them by right now so that they can potentially get to 7, 8, 9 wins and maybe sneak into a playoff spot.
Mhm.
And then you go draft a quarterback.
Right.
Like you draft
Have
a
that
couple
built up
more
already.
guys, like
You got to finish his career. You got to finish it out strong.
right,
And
right.
then
There's no need to go out and draft a quarterback, especially. I mean, if they get a guy, I mean, who knows? They might get a guy 2nd, 3rd round, a guy like Russell Wilson, came out in the 3rd round. But if they get a guy like later in the draft, I could see taking
Right.
him. But don't waste the 1st, 2nd round picking a guy that's.
Well, I mean, I could see the Jets. I mean, they already look like they're primed and ready for Lawrence. So I can definitely see them even Washington being ready for picking up somebody,
Someone
going out
else.
and getting
Yeah.
Sam
Sam
Darnold,
Darnold,
bringing
yeah.
him in.
Exactly.
Maybe let him sit a year, maybe let him play right away. I mean, once they got hurt, I mean, I'm sure they give him up for not a whole lot. I know Cam's probably not a huge fan of that. Do you not like
Jets
Trevor
should just set up for failure. Let's be real. Trevor Lawrence gets drafted, he's just going to be running for his life all day. Like, they no line to protect him. They got way more other things to worry about than Sam Darnold. I don't think Sam Darnold's a problem. I think it's
No.
the coaches. I think
Right.
it's the front office. I think it's a little bit of everything. But Sam Darnold, he'll do great wherever else he goes.
Sam Darnold is smart. He's
He's
getting
been
out
a
of
decent
Yeah.
quarterback for him, but he doesn't have any help.
No.
He definitely shows flashes of greatness. Like you've seen that
Right.
pass he had against the 49ers, that
Mhm.
long run he broke off against the Broncos on
Right,
Thursday night.
yeah.
Like, he's definitely got the skill, but he needs help.
did they
He does.
deal
And a
Quentin
lot of
Williams?
Is
Or
he-
is
yeah,
he
he's
still
still
there?
He's still there.
Yeah.
Is he any good?
Yeah, he's starting to improve a lot better.
That's the one spot they draft well.
Yeah.
D-line.
They do.
Last
Yeah,
time.
It seemed like 4 years before they got Darnold, all they did was take a defensive lineman 6th overall every single year.
Yeah.
That's
And
tough.
then once you deal him out, like who was it that went to the Giants?
Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he's starting to play good for them too.
He's playing
So
really well. For
yeah,
Yeah, he was a stud.
You've got to get a new head coach, man. Adam Gase is
Well-
psychotic. Like,
What's the how when coaches go they come from a losing I shouldn't say program
culture,
but
like
a losing team.
culture.
Mhm.
He came from the Dolphins. Some coaches you just know they do certain things well, even though things didn't work out. Like Pete Carroll at USC, even before they were great, and then they kind of were on the downfall. Like the thing that Pete Carroll did well was defense.
Right.
What is Adam Gase supposed to be doing well? Is he an
Well,
offensive guy?
The one thing he had was Peyton Manning in Denver, and that's what got him the job in New York. Was that Peyton Manning put in a good word for him? But I mean, you're dealing with Peyton Manning. That wasn't Adam Gase. Peyton
No,
Manning was
obviously
doing
not.
all sorts of audibles and hot routes to the
Yeah,
line of
Omaha.
scrimmage.
That's where Omaha came in because Adam Gase was
But,
butt fucking it too.
But like, I mean, even then, like you look at the Jets' offense, and Adam Gase is supposed to be this offensive mastermind at head coach, and that offense is struggling.
Mhm.
They might be the worst offense I've seen in a long time, and I've watched the Giants play twice this year.
The play calling is atrocious
It's
too.
horrible.
I was gonna say Adam Gase is
run,
probably,
run,
yeah, play
screen
action
pass on
pass.
30 17, and then punt. I mean, at least you drafted a punter this year.
Yeah.
He's been getting a lot
He has
of
the
work.
reps,
yeah.
man. He gets the
Yeah,
reps.
no
He's
doubt.
got some quads on him.
Yeah.
Holy.
I mean, you guys had weapons. You had Adams, Quinn Williams, Darnold, Bell, Robbie Anderson.
He used to.
Yeah,
He's in
he's
Carolina.
now
Carolina
he's
now.
balling out in Carolina.
Oh,
Go figure.
You guys had the
Jameson
talent. You had
Yeah.
talent there. You
Good
just
play.
needed a good line on the
Yeah.
offensive side, and
And
then
there's future there at that left tackle, the Mekhi Becton they got. He's a
He's a
Oh,
big
big
dude.
boy, and he's actually
large.
pretty quick and agile too for his size, being 370,000 pounds. You know? I mean,
Yeah, no, I honestly, I think like we look, into the we go into the future, and then we ended up looking back in the past. Adam Gase might be one of the worst head coaches ever in the history of national football.
He
No
just,
doubt.
he just doesn't have it. Some guys have it. Some guys don't.
I mean, like I get like we have like Hugh Jackson with the 0-16 Browns and everything, but like
Hugh
he's
Jackson was a good coach in some
Look at
aspects.
that
You know,
team.
like
Like the teams you compare, like the
rosters of those.
0-10 Jets to the 0-16 Browns. You look
Right.
at those rosters. The Browns. Who is the Browns quarterback?
Sean Kaiser, the
Exactly.
rookie quarterback out of Notre Dame.
Exactly.
He's
Not
never
a
been there.
first round pick.
A
Like,
dude that's like a third string quarterback now.
Oh,
Sam
yeah.
Darnold is. He's a
Honestly.
borderline Hall of Famer. Like if he got on the right squad,
Oh,
he
yeah.
could be a.
I think he's a
Hall of
Pro
Fame.
Bowler.
I
For
could see
sure.
him getting dealt to the 49ers as well.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I like what you said earlier, Brooksy, with the
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah.
Donald to Washington.
Mhm.
Take a chance. I mean, if that's who they feel is their guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Got Terry McLaurin,
Yeah.
McLaurin, whatever his name is. I don't
yeah, something like that.
McLaurin.
Scary
The
Terry.
Clarence.
know. Scary Terry,
Yeah, there
the
you
one
go.
Ohio State guy that's actually decent.
Okay, Ohio
Pretty much.
State. Ohio State has good cornerbacks. They do produce like pretty
They
decent
do.
cornerbacks.
Usually good defense.
Chase Young is.
Chase Young.
Yeah, Chase Young was
He
good
murdered Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
That was like honestly like
Brooks said it should be a federal crime.
it really
that-
should be that they put Joe Burrow on that team with that offensive line. Like no quarterback really, if we ever look back and has passed constantly 60 times a game as much as Joe Burrow has as a rookie with an offensive line that is absolute buns.
It's non-existent, dude. It's
It's
not even
terrible.
there.
He got killed by Myles Garrett in that like Monday night game against the
Oh,
Browns in
man.
week 3.
And he still got up from that.
Yeah, and the dude, like, I remember like they were making like highlight reels of just him getting screamed on NFL's Instagram page. The poor dude, like, that was just bound to happen. Like, I don't understand, like, management wise, like, this is okay. Let's put our franchise quarterback out there behind a suspect offensive
And they've
line.
got good receivers. I mean, they got what? Tyler Higgins, is that the guy?
T.
they got?
Higgins,
Yeah,
yeah.
T. Higgins.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, like he's got the weapons, and he's shown that he can throw 60 times a game, 350 yards, a couple touchdowns. But man, and of course, it happens in Washington. It looked like Joe Theismann all over again
Oh my
with
God, I
Lawrence
know.
Taylor. But yeah, it's just bad. Like I just don't understand. Like I mean, Reed, Riley, and Tyler can, I guess, kind of have a little bit of a say in this, but just management fuck over good quarterbacks so often, and it's just sad to watch. I'm like, all this talent, and you're just willing to piss it down the drain, like just.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's an ego thing. I don't know if it's money. I don't know what it is, but
Mhm.
it's bad. But we're gonna go to Tampa Bay.
It kind of got off topic.
Yeah,
there a little
no,
bit.
but that's good.
That's all right.
We're gonna go to Tampa Bay. So for you gentlemen, how long does Tom Brady have left? Like realistically, how long does he have left to be an elite quarterback?
I'm pretty sure after his contract's up with the Bucks, that'll be it. He's 43 right now. He's gonna be, I think it's a 2-year deal, 40
Yeah,
to
yeah.
45-ish, somewhere around there. I think. I mean, you don't even see kickers go till they're 45. Usually, this guy's getting, hit. He's a quarterback. I think he's pretty much over after the contract's up.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I think he'll be a little bit more patient with this year. Obviously, like it's a new team. He's been on the Patriots for what feels like 1,000 years, and I mean, he there's a lot of learning going on. Obviously, chemistry getting built with receivers. We see kind of building up with Mike Evans and stuff like that. So I think he might be a little bit more patient with this year. But I think after that, like being the competitor he is, he won't take it anymore. Like if they're not, winning the NFC or competing for the NFC or even the Super Bowl, he's done. He's out of there. So I mean, realistically, I think, like you said, end of the contract. Maybe they extend him for like 2 more years. So I think 3 to 4 years will probably is the last we're going to see Tom Brady.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one that I don't feel confident in him staying in the league.
Honestly, how hard is it to coach a quarterback that cannot freaking run to save his life?
Well,
Like he's not mobile. Like
the game's just changing. Though. I mean, you look at like some of these young guys, the last however many 10 quarterbacks that got taken in the draft. You look at them, guys like Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, and they're not really known for their running like say Kyler Murray is.
Right.
They can run.
But they're mobile enough to where you can get them outside the pocket, and they can extend plays and get guys
Aaron
a chance. Yeah, like quarterbacks like Tom Brady they're just non-existent anymore.
It's
Guys
just an
like-
old school football.
It
He's
really
43.
is. The game has changed so much. I mean, you think about when he came into the league.
I think there's 3 of them I can think of, 4 of them, and they're all 40 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a dying breed for
I
sure.
mean, what you got?
Yeah.
Big Ben, Tom.
I mean, Big Ben is when he was a rookie, he was pretty
He was
athletic.
mobile.
Right.
But now
And even Tom like was more mobile. Like you watch him now, like
he's not.
he doesn't
can't
have
be
the
outside the
offensive
pocket, no.
line.
Yeah.
And honestly, like he doesn't have the head coach. I think that's where
Arians,
their
yeah.
struggles are right now. I know you guys have probably seen the Arians has called him out like 3
Yeah.
times. So you need to going back to the question, how long does he realistically have? I think it's going to depend on how long Bruce Arians will allow him to be there. Because I
Yeah.
feel like Arians doesn't really want him there.
It's looking like that.
I feel like Arians wants to kind of change the team and move them in a direction where they're more mobile. They're able to do more things at the quarterback spot. Because, like you said, the game is just changing. It's
Right.
faster. It's up tempo. It's
Hmm.
on the go. I mean, you look at the Seattle Seahawks, even with Russell Wilson, the things
Right.
that he does. I mean, obviously he has DK and Tyler Lockett, but like his offensive line has never been good.
No.
But he's
Never.
always been good because they're able to move him and he's been able to make plays, and they even do a decent job protecting him by moving the pocket and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's like an interesting fact you brought up. Like, what was the statistic that Taysom Hill had a better QBR than Tom Brady did? I mean, granted, they played the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons are kind of shit, but I mean, that goes to say a lot. I mean, Taysom Hill's played feels like every position on the football field, and he's put him right back there behind as a starting quarterback, and he had a better QBR than the greatest quarterback of all time, arguably. I mean, so I think that really goes to show, like, a lot towards your point, that the game really is changing, I guess.
What do you think, Kim?
I'd like to think that he'll be done after his contract,
Yeah.
and then maybe the Bucks see them taking the quarterback somewhere like 3rd, 4th round, let him learn a year under Tom Brady, see if he
Right.
learns anything, and I don't know, throw him out to the Wolves his first year. If that doesn't work, just go pick someone up because there's too many weapons on that team for them to
There
not
really
have
is.
like a quarterback. You got Godwin, you got Gronk, who knows how long he'll
Evans.
still be there.
Right.
Evans, yeah.
And
You
Ron
got
Jones,
Fournette
yeah.
and
Daniel
Ronald
Jones.
Jones.
They're a good all around. I think quarterback might be their worst
yeah.
position.
Downfall.
Because they
Yeah,
have
it
a
looked
pretty
like it.
dominant defense too.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
the
they're-
linebackers in that
Devin
team.
White and Shaquille Barrett are
Yeah.
just absolute
Levante
monsters
David,
back
too.
there.
Yeah.
That, who's that corner that God, I can't think of
Winfield?
his name. No,
Antoine
he's
Winfield.
good though. He was a good draft.
He's an
pick.
older guy
Rookie?
too, isn't he?
He's a rookie.
No, he's an
Oh,
older guy.
rookie.
I can't think of his name. I'll have to look it up. He's like the most unknown. Like when I was watching the game against who they playing?
The
The
Rams.
Saints. I think it was the Saints. It was like a Sunday
That was
night
your
or
show.
Yeah, when they
Yeah,
got
it was a
creamed.
primetime game.
They got
Yeah.
creamed.
But he was playing well. I was like, I never heard of this guy in my life, but he's well, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I mean,
Their team is so good. Imagine them with a
Kyler
Aaron
Murray.
Rodgers or
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
I
gosh.
think Tom Brady's playing well enough for them to win. But like I said, when you don't have a mobile quarterback, it's just you're
Shrinks your playbook.
limited. Yes, there's only
Yeah,
so
it
many
really
things
does.
you can do. And you look at like that game last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. I think it was last week actually. The ground game. They got the
Yeah.
ground game
Against the
going.
Panthers, they got
Yeah.
Ronald
And when
Jones
they got their butts kicked against the Saints 2 weeks
Four
ago,
rushes
No-
they had,
no
they
run
had
game.
4 rushes
or the
total.
whole
Yeah,
game, yeah.
yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I can't I think Bruce Arians has done some great things in his coaching career with like Indianapolis and Arizona, I think. But I think here he doesn't know how to coach
He's
Tom
outmanned
Brady
and outgunned here
with
in
all this
Tampa
talent.
Bay.
Like he should not be like if we look at Tampa Bay Buccaneers position by position, they match up just as well with anybody else in the league.
They're the best team all around.
They really are. I mean, offensive line is probably their weakest spot, but I mean, Ryan Jensen, he was their center, and this just goes to show. I saw something about this on Twitter, how good of a lineman he is. They moved him from center to guard to match up with Aaron Donald, and Aaron Donald didn't record a single defensive statistic that night. That's insane. I mean,
That's the
So-
most dominant defensive lineman in the
past
game.
10 years,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
That's an extremely hard task to ask somebody to change. I mean, it might not seem like that big of a deal.
No,
but you
but-
played a line in high school, like you know how long. Like, how
You gotta be more
difficult
agile
that
at
is.
Oh yeah.
Guard
Like
than
it's
you do
just
center.
different moving spots. Like,
It
it's
really
not.
is.
It's really not as easy as it sounds. Carlton Davis is the guy. I was
Oh,
thinking
okay.
I've heard that name, yeah.
of.
Okay.
He's balling right now for them. He's a decent corner.
Side note: how long does Antonio Brown last in this system
I forgot
before
about
he's
that.
yeah? Like, let's say because the police report comes out that he threw a bicycle at a cop.
Who does that?
Send him to
Antonio
the Jets,
Brown.
baby.
Yeah.
Send him to the Jets.
We need some publicity.
Just
Make the
ADs
Jets
in that
relevant
shit show.
again.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, but like realistically, guys, like this guy was
Insane.
one of the probably like when I watched him, I was like, this guy is probably one of the best receivers I've ever laid my eyes on. Like when he played for the Steelers, and then he's just bouncing around because he's so toxic, and he goes to the Bucks, and we all know it's kind of his last shot. And then they get this police report, and the Bucks like, oh, we had no idea. I'm like, you didn't look into like a criminal like before you.
Oh,
Yeah,
they,
you're like,
they knew for
They
sure.
had
I had to have like.
There's no chance that
He
those
threw
guys
a
not.
bicycle. You just
Yeah.
picked up Cam's bicycle. Is however much you paid for that thing. It's a nice bicycle.
That's a good guy.
Should ask. Was that a healthy?
But how long's he got? Like realistically, how long's he got?
I don't think they re-sign him
This
or
year.
No,
whatever.
this year. Depends.
Tom
If
Brady.
he comes in and they make it, yeah, well, it's true. But if they come in and make it,
Yeah,
like,
honestly.
say, to the conference championship
Right.
game, and he starts playing a little bit better,
hmm
even if he doesn't play well, even if they make it that far, I think they would take a shot, and keep him for another year at least,
You never know.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's not that expensive.
It's
They're
another
going to get him
weapon.
for dirt cheap.
this is almost like a Kareem Hunt situation with like the Cleveland Browns. Like
Yeah.
he obviously kicked that woman. And they signed him, and I mean they literally just signed him to a year contract. Like, let's see what you do. If you do well, you can come back and play. And he did, and obviously now we see how that's going. I mean that's kind of like I think was their idea with Antonio Brown. But Antonio Brown's done a lot more than just kick a woman. not taking anything away from that because that's terrible. But I mean he's got so much baggage to him, and he's just so toxic to the team. So I really just think like they just let Tom Brady get in their heads and just kind of run the GM spot because it's pretty apparent that Tom Brady had a hand in it. He let the dude stay in his freaking house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought him over to Foxborough too.
Yeah,
when he
New
was playing
England.
for the Patriots.
Yeah. So it's definitely like him and Tom Brady are buddies. But yeah, it's a weird situation with that guy. That guy, I just wonder if it's CTE or if he just like
It's that perfect hit. Everything went
Montana's-
down. Yeah.
The old Bengals game.
that was a crazy hit though.
Juju had his back after that though. Didn't he?
Yeah,
lay
yeah,
up
the
on
draft.
the draft that just happened. In your guys' eyes, who won the draft and who lost the draft? Like who didn't do well, who did well?
I think the Sixers did very well.
Yep.
I think they got rid of. This isn't just the draft in general, but it was leading up to the draft. They got rid of Al Horford's contract,
Yeah.
which was a terrible contract. They
Yeah.
got rid of Josh Richardson, who I think is overrated.
Very.
And they, in return, they got a 3-time NBA champ. They got Danny Green, and then they got Seth Curry.
Yeah.
And they also got in the draft they got Tyrese Maxey, who's a good perimeter defender, and that's kind of what they needed.
Yeah, the Seth Curry is
Yeah,
really
that's-
underrated, honestly. Like, I mean, obviously Steph's gonna be Hall of Famer, one of the greatest ever, you could argue. But I mean, he's like career 40% from three, which is insane. Like, that's super efficient. He's just kind of flown under the radar.
And don't sleep on Danny Green because he didn't have a great end of the year with the Lakers, but I mean he's a 3-time champ. He's a good 3-and-D wing. He's solid.
Danny Green's one of those guys that even if he's having an off night, he's still a guy you got to defend on the perimeter. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, teams know what he's done previously.
Mhm.
I do like the Curry move though. The Sixers moving pieces around, getting rid of the Al Horford contract was good for them.
Mhm.
I thought the biggest loser I think was probably I want to say the Atlanta Hawks. They moved a lot of guys around. I thought they were gonna move up in the draft a little bit to try to get a legit big man like James Wiseman. I know
Right.
a couple weeks ago on the podcast I
Mhm.
mentioned we were talking about I was interested to see what the Warriors decided.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that the Hawks didn't move up to try to get a guy like James Wiseman. You know, they got Clint Capella, but
I think
I
they're pretty
think-
happy with that dude out of USC.
yeah, I don't think he's gonna be horrible for them. But I just thought that the Hawks, in my opinion, should be in a win now mentality, and they kind of showed it after the draft.
Yeah.
Like during the draft, I thought they should have moved up and kind of went after, I guess, a higher pick in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Give Trae Young some help. Like the last couple of guys that they drafted haven't really done a ton.
Yeah.
They got that guy from Virginia. I can't think of his name off there. Is it Hunter? DeAndre Hunter?
Oh, DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him, and then who was the other guy from Duke that they
Um,
Reddish?
Yeah, Cam Reddish.
He really hasn't done much either.
You know,
Yeah, now they got Rondo and Bogdanovich though, which is
Right.
big
I
for
like
them.
who is the dude from was he used to play for the Thunder forever.
Steven Adams.
No,
No, he's on.
He was on
No,
Pelicans. right?
Gallinari.
Gallinari,
Yeah,
yeah.
Danilo
I
Gallinari.
like
yeah.
that.
Stallion. He's a stud.
I like that signing right there. I don't think in my opinion, I don't think he should start for the Hawks, but I honestly think that signing him was going to be big for them. He's a dude that can get a bucket anytime they need.
Yeah.
I think the Hawks can sneak into the playoffs. Actually,
I think they really
I
should.
mean, the East is weak and made a lot of moves, a lot of roster changes. I think they can compete for 7-8 seed.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see how that. I think is like. I'm sure I'm butchering. It was like Okongwu or whatever it was, the USC center. Like I was watching a little bit of stuff, and a lot of his comparisons, size-wise and play-wise, is like to Bam Adebayo. So I and he's a true freshman, which I guess these days who isn't. So it'll be really interesting to see if he's any good. I mean, Jameis Wiseman, obviously, if they could have made a move, would have been awesome. He's got like AD kind of potential, obviously outside inside kind of game. But focusing for me back on the draft, to me the winners was the Sacramento Kings. I'm a huge fan of Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State. He's a stud. I don't have his stats, but I know he averages probably 25 a game. He's a great point guard, and he fell in their lap at 11. Like I remember like seeing tweets from like Woj, 12. Yeah, right. My bad. Sorry. No, you're good. You're good. And I was seeing like tweets from like Woj, and he's like saying like they had no idea he was gonna this was their guy that if they could have moved up and gotten, they would have. They didn't have to move at all. Yeah. He fell right in their laps. And losers, as a Thunder fan, I got to go with them. They had way too many utilities and assets just to only trade up to 13 and sit there. When a guy like Halliburton fell that to 12, like literally just right above you, like you could have moved up to 10 even and gotten him, and you only wouldn't have to give him up that much. So it doesn't make sense to me why they sat at 13 and drafted a dude with could have been Porzingis. I mean, he could be the next Porzingis, but I mean that's such a gamble these days. I mean, he's tall, he can play outside, and I'm not even going to try to say his name because I can't pronounce it. But I mean, to me, it didn't make any sense why they just sat there and watched the guy like Halliburton fall and not make a move to go get him. Yeah, especially with all those assets.
I thought another loser was the Suns.
Yeah,
I thought they'd taken Jalen Smith out of Maryland. Like, no disrespect to him, but they did not need that. I mean, they got DeAndre Ayton. They've got their big man. They have Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Like, you should have gotten like a small forward, power forward guy, and I thought they really botched that pick right there. And then what were you gonna say? No, I and I know Tyler is gonna debate me on this, but I did not like the Bulls pick at number 4. The sixth man out of Florida State. Now Tyler will argue that was what they needed, was a defensive guy, but I just did not think we saw enough out of this dude to be like, how did he go number 4 when you had Obi Toppin Player of the Year, you had Tyrese Halliburton, you had all these guys above him, but I mean, I guess that's a system move. I guess they didn't need the best player, and that's probably what you're going to come back with is they needed a defensive guy, and they went and got him.
I guess my question for you is, who would you rather, like you talked about the Suns being losers, and I don't disagree. I think getting who they got, where they got, who would you have rather them taken? Because there wasn't a ton available, in my opinion. Like you said, you had Tyrese Halliburton, which I think anybody outside the top 5 like could have taken.
Yeah.
He was good enough to go top 5.
Absolutely. Same.
But like, who would you rather have seen them take?
I mean, it's tough. They already have Paul and Devin Booker, so I mean, it's
right.
And Toppin was gone, so then you have to look at so maybe this is their power forward guy. Right. Who knows? I don't know. Right. I just think that Jalen Smith was not a 10th pick, but then again, who am I to say I'm not an NBA owner or anything? But it could work. It could work. I mean, they might just get 2 big guys for boards and putbacks, being just give it the ball to Booker and Paul. But I don't know. Who would you have taken?
My thing with this draft, and it's tough because we're sitting here judging these dudes on a short season.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to see a lot of these guys in the NCAA tournament, which is where a lot of these name schools, go and show out. And some of these guys really up their draft stock in the tournament.
Well, yeah, like look at Da Vinci or whatever, Dante Da Vinci or whatever it was out of
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo, got drafted by the Bucks in the first round purely because he had an amazing game in Final Four.
I thought, going back to your question though, Devo, I think they should have probably moved down. I thought they should have traded, I don't know if they should have traded out of the first round, but I think that spot, there were teams that were willing to move up. Teams like Charlotte. I think Charlotte would have been a very, a team that was looking to be aggressive.
Thunder.
Yep, the Thunder with all their picks, they're loading up. I know you don't like that, personally.
I thought it was good. I thought they did a good job.
The Thunder, I mean, you look at the Thunder's draft picks since they moved to Oklahoma City. They have hit on 5 draft picks.
Yeah.
They do a very good job of drafting guys. So them stockpiling the 20 picks that they're going to have for the next 6 years, I think you could potentially get a big 3 in the draft and redo it that way. It
I
might
mean-
take a while, but
At the end of the day, as a Thunder fan, like I trust Presti. I mean, it was just disappointing because I really felt like I said,
Right.
I was most like if they would have like picked that guy and Tyrese Halliburton was off the board, you know, like 6 or 5 or whatever. I don't think I'd have been too upset, especially since he fell to 12. I was like, come on, that's what we could have really used.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, all those picks Presti has, to me, it's like you don't know what they're gonna turn out to be. So I just gotta have faith that he knows that what they could be. You know, maybe like LeBron James Jr., whatever that may be. I don't know any of those younger guys out there, but like I just having all those picks to me is such a gamble because you have no idea what the heck they could be, and I just don't understand like the whole ideology of just sitting back and just getting these dudes that are probably going to play in the G League and just tanking maybe. I don't know.
and going back to the Patrick Williams pick, I know a lot of people don't like that pick, but I think the Bulls did something that more teams should have done.
Mhm.
Like you look at like the Bulls, the one spot that they have struggled, they don't struggle on the offensive side of the ball.
Not really.
They put up 100+ points every night.
Mhm.
But what they cannot do is defend the perimeter.
Right.
They went out and got the best perimeter defender in the draft, I thought. I know he was the sixth man. But like I said, Devin Booker was a sixth man coming off the bench out of Kentucky. So the sixth man thing is kind of irrelevant in my opinion. But like I said, he was the best perimeter defender that was in the draft. So I didn't mind that pick. Like I said, we had
System fit.
it was a system fit. I thought, if anything, New York should have went the same route that Chicago did. I think they kind of reached on Obi. I know he's a great player. I think he's going to do very well. But now what? You have Julius Randle, you have Mitchell Robinson, you have
RJ Barrett.
Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett. You have all these guys, and what is like? How
It's
does
not
But
really
they
fit
all
with
want to
those
score.
guys,
They
yeah.
want to score. They all
Yeah,
want
how
the
does
ball in their
Obi
hand.
help you get any better? I thought that the Knicks ended up losing the draft by not taking Halliburton.
Yeah.
I
I
thought
thought
that.
for sure he was going there. To be
I
honest.
thought so too. I thought for sure when they picked Obi, and like I said, I love Obi. I think he's a great player. I know he's from the Bronx, so like it's a fit.
yeah,
It's a fit
cool
for them. Popularity thing for them.
Mhm.
But like you said, they don't need another power forward that's going to come in and give them 12 points a game, a couple rebounds. He's going to play probably not
20
nearly enough
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah.
I thought the Magic took Cole Anthony where they did. I thought that was a great pick by them too. I think that was what they needed.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's tough. I mean, once we see the season starting up here in about a month, I think that'll really put answers to a lot of questions. But so we're gonna go into free agency. Who won it and who's losing it right now?
Who you got, Cam?
Losers, I think the Hornets. All they picked up was Hayward. Yeah, and they kind of reached on his contract a little bit.
Oh,
Huh?
big time.
Yeah.
What was it like?
4-year,
4 years.
128 or
Yeah.
something.
4 years,
134.
Basically $30 million a year.
Yeah, he is not the same player he was in his first year with the Celtics or his last with the Jazz. I mean, that was a big reach to me, and I think you got to do better surrounding your future LaMelo Ball
Yeah.
with some help at least. Because let's be real, the Hornets are god awful. I mean,
Yeah.
We got Malik Monk. They got some
Yeah.
guys there that.
Yeah,
but
the Hornets are interesting because like I think they could be really good, but I think by doing that they really shot themselves in the foot
exactly.
for a lot of like money they could have used. So I mean, like you said, they got a really young core now with LaMelo Ball, Malik Monk, PJ Washington, and then Miles Bridges looks like he could be a real stud.
Yeah.
So yeah, but going on the winner's side, I feel like this one we're all gonna agree on.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's tough.
So the Lakers did nothing, but
Upgrade every position.
yeah,
needed.
exactly. I mean, their
They
point
took
guard
my
was
damn Clipper.
Rondo was their starting point guard, right?
Yeah.
Who was it?
No.
It was LeBron.
Well, LeBron.
Rondo
Well,
was the
Rondo
starting
was
point
the
guard.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Schroeder's probably gonna fill in that
Yeah.
role now.
yeah,
And Schroeder's a great player coming off the bench even, so I can imagine him
yeah.
getting more minutes.
Schroeder will start, and then you'll have Caruso coming off the bench as their other point guard.
The White Mamba, baby.
The White Mamba, then I mean they have the deepest like bench in the like for a team in a long time. I feel like they have a whole starting team on the bench. I mean, you got Caruso, who is a very good defensive team. You got Wesley, who's probably going to come off the bench.
That was
That
the
was a great
guy
signing.
that I really liked the signing.
I
I wasn't a fan. I was sitting back, looking at who all they got rid of. I thought they were going to take a major hit. They don't have Dwight Howard, which
Well,
people don't understand how good Dwight was playing.
They only beat the Nuggets because of Dwight Howard.
Yeah, they lost a lot in Dwight Howard.
Mhm.
They lost. I mean,
JaVale
Rondo.
McGee.
Rondo leaving is
Whatever.
because they got Schroeder. I mean, I think
Yeah.
they got better talent wise. Obviously, Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell are, I think, talent wise, way better than Dwight Howard and Rondo.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I say that I think the Lakers reached a little bit was with the Caldwell Pope contract.
Same.
Yeah,
I
Dude's
wasn't a
getting
huge fan of that.
$40 million a year for 3 years. Like, you just locked into a horrible deal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the KCP.
Let the guy go. What did he do for your team?
He really didn't do that.
He wasn't a great shooter. He
He's-
didn't defend that well.
No,
He's decent, and you gotta think he's better than Danny Green was.
he was, and they got rid of that contract, so that's big
That's
for
nice.
them.
And
too.
that's the only way they got him. That's the only reason they got Caldwell Pope back is because they got rid of Danny Green. They could give
Right.
Caldwell Pope a little more money, and I mean, getting all the guys that they upgraded with, they saved money, which
Mhm.
I think that's a win in itself because then they could sign that Caldwell Pope, which they wanted to do, obviously. And then, later on at the end, they got Gasol.
Yeah,
I
that
forgot
was
about
that was
that.
a good one.
big
That's
my
another starting guy
He's-
that's going to be coming off
yeah.
the bench.
I don't
He's-
see the Lakers losing this year.
he's tough.
No.
He's gonna be tough. Gasol is one of those dudes that he's not gonna go up and put 15 and 10 like he used to back for Toronto when he first showed up there, or
No.
Memphis back when he was with Zebo. But
No,
You upgraded from McGee to Gasol.
yeah, dude can just
No,
well,
and he
the dude
can
can just
pass,
space the
too.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a great
He
passer.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a force down low. I mean, it's one of those guys. You get a lane, to the middle. You think that you got to go against Marc Gasol. Like you got to get a shot up against that guy.
Him and AD as a two big man will be tough because AD is obviously that quick, can do it on both sides, and Gasol can more focus on defense, which he's a stud on defense.
then
So
you got Montrezl Harrell who will wear you down defensively.
Right.
He's
so
just
I'm
a
so
great player.
freaking pissed
He's a
about that.
Kenneth Fareed, but better. Remember Kenneth
Yeah,
Fareed?
yeah,
back
Yeah, I
in the
forgot
day?
about him. It's the
What do they
man.
call him, the manimal?
Yeah.
That's Montrezl Harrell. He just gets after it.
He'll give you 110% every time.
Honest
Like,
question, right? Is you as a Lakers fan, like, are they just have that much cap space? Or are they getting guys to commit to lower contracts?
They have guys committing to lower contracts. They
Just 'cause
sign.
they want to
That's
come
what
in.
Reigns.
Yeah, I mean, basically all their
Makes sense.
cap is going to LeBron and AD. Well,
Right.
They don't have
He
to
will
sign
sign
him yet,
it,
though.
yeah.
He's still on contract, isn't he?
no, this is his contract.
Like this is
His
his
contract's
contract year. Right?
Yep, yep.
Right.
But he's
He's gonna get the max deal, obviously.
he
But-
will.
He's worth it.
They're waiting to see what Giannis does. So right now, what the rumor around the league is AD is waiting to sign because he's waiting to see what Giannis decides to do because he's through contract till next summer with the Bucks.
Right.
They're waiting to see if he leaves or gets a max contract somewhere else, or if he stays. If he stays, he's going to sign like a 1+1 player option deal, and then next summer they're going to get Giannis. And that's why they've got Trez and Schroeder and Wesley, because they can ship all those guys to the Bucks and say, "Here's all your talent." So
Yeah.
I think it's. I thought Rob Pelinka killed it this offseason so far. The other two teams I thought killed it were the Hawks and the Blazers. I thought the Hawks obviously getting Bogdanovich, Rondo, Gallinari. I thought Chris Dunn was a good pick,
I forgot.
and then
about
Solomon Hill.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think they bolstered their team quite. They got good depth now, probably up until 8 guys. But the Blazers obviously they got Melo back. They got Harry Giles, Derek Jones Jr., Robert Covington. I thought was their biggest one they got, and then Ennis Cancer from Celtics, and they let go Whiteside. I think. I mean, I love Damian Lillard. I think he deserves a title, and so does McCollum. But
Mhm.
they're missing those pieces. I think Covington gives them the small forward, what Ariza couldn't give them.
Mhm.
I think they got Cantor and then Nurkic Yusuf Nurkic. So
Yeah.
I thought those teams did really well. Honestly, this
I
agency.
think the Blazers could have made a harder push at the
Yeah.
Lakers when they played in the playoffs if they had Nurkic.
Yeah.
Nurkic is a stud.
Nurkic is their glue. Honestly,
Yeah,
He's tough.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know what AD will sign for, but when I saw Montrezl Harrell go there, I was pissed as a Clippers fan because I love Montrezl Harrell, but it is what it is, I guess.
That's a tough loss.
That was tough, but we got Serge Ibaka. So
Yeah, I feel like it's a slight upgrade.
It
it's
is a slight
it's
upgrade.
slight, but it's not.
But you made your arch rival better, so
I don't want that. So the last one we'll go into here is basically from this free agency, whose title chances really increased and whose went down. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I can throw this back at Cam because he brought it up. Is the Charlotte Hornets? I mean, I don't really know if they had a chance in the beginning. Like you kind of said, they suck, but they had such a young core, and they could have brought in some more younger guys. Made a play for a Kevin Knox in New York, who's got a lot of upside. But instead, by signing Gordon Hayward, they just committed to even more money that they're going to give up. I have it written down here. Right now, they're paying Gordon Hayward 120 million for 4 years. Nicholas Batum 27 million for 2 years. Terry Rozier 18 million. I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. Cody Zeller 15 million for another year. Bismack Biyombo 1.6 million for another year. Like those dudes, Terry Rozier's probably the only one I might contest with. Nicholas Batum's going to get out of the league any minute now. Yeah, I mean, he used to be good. He's old. Terry Rozier could be a nice guy off the bench, so I'm kind of with that one. But the Gordon Hayward one, I mean, after he snapped his leg, dude hasn't been the same. So, I mean, I don't know, Cam, what do you think? I think that's probably, to me, the biggest loss for getting better.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough
They
one.
just screwed themselves pretty much with that signing.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And
Can we
then,
just talk about Gordon Hayward's game for 1 second?
yeah, honestly,
That dude just got 4 years, $120 million, and he hasn't done a thing since he left the Jazz.
No.
them for real.
Honestly, like I could see if they picked him up for maybe like a quarter of that for like 2-year deal,
Mhm.
like to get a 4-year, 120 million, like screw
How old is
Rich
he
Paul.
now?
Like I know they say Rich Paul's the best agent, but somebody give my man some props because that's. I mean, it's a horrible contract for Charlotte. Like you said.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Props to Gordon Hayward's agent because
For real.
that dude deserves a raise and a half.
And
He
I mean,
deserves about $60 million of that contract. 'cause-
I was so confused when he opted out because he was owed like 36 million.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what are you gonna do? No one's gonna watch it.
Yeah,
And he
me
signed
too.
the 30 million a year.
I
I'm like,
was
oh,
like,
okay.
I don't know, but yeah, I
It's
mean,
tough.
I think the dude's like Cam was asked. I think the dude's got to be close to 30 something, if
Yeah.
not over.
I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I like Gordon Hayward.
Right.
He's one of those guys that it's tough because he starts to play well and then he gets hurt, and then he
Mhm.
starts to play well again
And he
and you
gets
start to build his confidence and then he gets hurt again.
It,
So his career has been derailed by injuries.
it reminds me a lot. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Chandler Parsons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Chandler
Yeah.
Parsons was a stud at where was it? Was it Dallas?
Yeah.
And then he got a huge contract with
Houston.
Houston. Got hurt a bunch, and then Houston tried to get him back, and then he went to Memphis and he got a ton of money. Like I
Yeah.
really don't understand why, but to me, I think Gordon Hayward's career is starting to play out a lot like Chandler Parsons.
Yeah.
Gordon had everything he wanted in Boston too. Like you had Kemba,
Championship opportunity.
Tatum, Smart,
Brown.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown. Like, dude, you didn't have to go put up 25. Now you're gonna have to go out there and ball at Charlotte. Like you didn't have to, and you could have got more money in Boston. Like I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he had against Boston or any of those guys there, but I thought it was stupid. I thought it was a stupid move to leave. Like they had a great chance to go and get a title. And I don't know. I kind of put them as the Celtics as hurting their chances a little bit just because they lost that score and they got Tristan Thompson, which was good, but they also got Peyton Pritchard from Oregon out of the draft. So I don't know. I mean, they're I don't know. I guess it didn't really get them going up or down. I think they kind of stayed even, but I don't know.
I thought Brooklyn not making any moves in
Yeah,
free
it was
agency was
Hurt.
I don't know if it hurt them. I guess them not making moves, in my opinion, almost benefited them.
They're gonna be a good team.
Yeah,
They're
You
underrated.
just give Kevin Durant a chance. That's all you need.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, there was almost talks about James Harden going to.
That would have been toxic.
That wouldn't
That would have
work.
been toxic.
You got 3 alphas, and
I mean,
it's
it's
not 3 basketballs.
it's really true. I mean, I think if anybody would have made it work, it would have been Kevin Durant. You know, he's played with 3 other superstars.
Right. He's playing with James Harden 4.
And it's I think Katie could have made it work.
But
It's more
Kyrie.
Kyrie.
Kyrie's
I think
Toxic.
Kyrie's a
They're just too
toxic individual.
similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree
Kyrie's-
100%.
no, and I want another team. I guess I'll throw out there to end it is the Nuggets. I thought the Nuggets bombed. I thought they did not do. They lost Jeremy Grant.
That one hurt.
That one hurts. And then they got JaMychal Green from the Clippers, which I'm a Clippers fan. I'm like, he's just a role player who'll give you like 8 points a game. Not much there. So I mean, I thought the Nuggets.
They lost Plumlee. So I think
Yeah.
actual,
Yeah,
a good
he's
guy
too
coming off the bench.
He's huge. Like, so I don't know. I feel like they really hurt their chances to go after because I didn't think they drafted very well at all either.
I think they drafted well. I think they're a winner. They got RJ Hampton 24th.
I
That's a big steal. I
think they drafted really well. I just think they could have tried to keep Jeremy Grant. I don't know what his contract was like, but I think they probably should have done more to keep Jeremy Grant.
I would
He
have.
was a nice role guy.
I would have too.
I think they got worse, but I would say their draft was good just because where
They
they,
did
got
draft
RJ
well.
Hampton at.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and going back to like the Charlotte Hornets, like they drafted so well. I really think, like, obviously LaMelo Ball. Like, I can only imagine how much they got thrown at him to, to go for someone to trade out there and draft LaMelo, but I think LaMelo's going to be a really good player. Everything I've heard, I mean, GMs are ecstatic with him. They think he's got great potential. But I mean, they could have gone out after they drafted him, and they could have traded for a guy like Zach LaVine out of Chicago or Bradley Beal, and that contract would have fitted up with Gordon Hayward. It just did not make sense to me.
I think one of the teams that nobody really talks about and nobody's ever really going to talk about, obviously they got Zion, but the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams was a great.
I hate
I mean,
that Thunder fan.
people are going to talk. They just drafted that. Who's the big guy they drafted last year with? Was it last year? I think it was last year with Zion that came in.
Out of
Dude,
Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot.
Hayes.
Brandon Hayes.
Brandon
He's
Hayes.
He's tough. I think he's still developing.
Mhm.
But I think a guy like Steven Adams doesn't hurt the team. Up. I mean, the Pelicans are kind of
They
entering
signed
that.
Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Max.
a lot of max deals this
Yeah,
last
that,
weekend.
he's underrated. I think
Very
he deserved
underrated.
every bit of that contract. He's gonna be a good player.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, you look at the guys that got max deals this weekend. You had De'Aaron Fox. You got Tatum. You had Mitchell. You had Brandon Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at those guys in general. They're all all-stars every year, borderline all-stars.
Right.
What did the Jazz do? They didn't do any. They
Just
were really
signed
quiet.
Donovan, that's about
Yeah,
it.
they're one of those teams though where they are Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that dude, I think is probably one of the best basketball players in the NBA right now. He has carried them really well. Like
Yeah.
last year, like obviously they have Rudy Gobert, so he plays great defense, but Donovan Mitchell with
Also
what he
shuts
was
down
doing,
the league.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, with
true.
COVID, touching
Yeah.
mics.
Yeah.
yeah, seriously, gets tested 2 weeks later. He's
That was the biggest fuck you ever.
That was tough.
Make fun of COVID. COVID gets you back.
That was tough.
Yeah. So we'll end it up here. We always like ending the show with sports betting. It's kind of a fun thing, especially now since it's legal in Montana. So I'll start with mine versus best bets. I've got for NFL, I've got Panthers covering a +4 spread at positive 175 against the Vikings. I've got the Cardinals money line at negative 148 odds. And I've got Bears covering an 8.5 point spread at plus 330 against the Packers. I could definitely see Bears even winning that game. So those are for mine. I know I didn't let you guys know that you could bring in some sports bets, but if you guys got any you can think of, definitely throw them in. I know Dev's probably got a few.
I got two. I like the Titans +3 against Indy, especially after the last game. I know Indy obviously just beat our Packers because we suck, but I really like Derrick Henry against that defense. I think he gets his revenge. I think they go in there and get it done, show that they're an AFC powerhouse. I really like, we talked about it last night, Riley, but there's like, 5-6 teams of the AFC right now that could make a run and win that dang thing. So I like the Titans there, and then I also like the Panthers at +3.5 against Minnesota. I think the Vikings are a good team, but ultimately I like Bridgewater and Mike Davis. If McCaffrey would ever get healthy, I know this guy
Yeah.
hates his draft. Well, he loves the draft pick, but
Is Teddy back this week?
I think
I think so.
he's back this
I
week.
think
I kinda like
Yeah,
the
PJ
last
Walker
I
was
like
good.
PJ Walker.
PJ Walker's good.
XFL guy, right?
Yeah,
He's a
6-0
dog.
as a starter.
He's a dog.
Yeah, but no. And Brooks's bet with the Bears is also a good pick because we do not like physical teams, and that defense is very physical. And what did you say, Riley? If we go down early, we will not come back to beat them.
Pretty
so
much.
we have to score like every drive.
Khalil Mack's
essentially.
gonna eat our lunch.
Oh
Yeah,
God!
right.
And if he doesn't, Akeem Hicks will.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, do they still have Danny